Hey YouTube, Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard Overdress Eugene deck profile for post-Raging Flames against Emerald Storm. With the new Set 7 set released in English, we got more support for Eugene, the Dragon Empire deck that focuses on retiring your opponent's rearguards. Having a restander for the deck now just makes it that much more scary. Restanding pressure with a Vanguard is always a great addition to the deck, and focusing it on the retire power that Eugene is meant to do, while giving us some other cards that help with the retire and recycle of units from our drop zone, so we don't deck out with the deck, because that was always a big thing with the rearguard and soul buildup that we could do with this deck so quickly. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the ride deck, our grade 0 is double Gun of Duststorm Bart. When rode upon, if you went second, draw a card. Our grade 1 is Gunning of Duststorm Nigel. When this unit is rode upon by Cataclysmic Bullet of Duststorm Randor, you soul charge 1. You really don't use the rearguard effect with it because it's the only copy we run in the deck. So our grade 2, Randor, when it's rode upon by Heavy Artillery of Duststorm Eugene, you draw a card, choose up to one card from your drop zone, and put it into your soul. And it does have the Vanguard option when it attacks. If your opponent has 2 or less rearguards, to counter blast 1, soul charge 1, and it gets +5 till end of turn. So giving you another option with the soul charge power that this card can provide. And our grade 3 is Heavy Artillery of Duststorm Eugene, along with the copy we are running in the ride deck. We are also running 3 additional copies of this card, and also with it on Vanguard Circle, once per turn, you can rest 2 rearguards, choose one of your opponent's rearguards, retire it, and this unit gets plus 10,000 to end of turn. Putting it at 23k helps with the restand power that you can do with your new go-to unit, Assault Bullet of Duststorm Oswald. And also on the Vanguard Circle, once per turn, if your opponent's rearguard was retired this turn, you can Soul Blast 5, look at the same number of cards off of the top of your deck as the number of your opponent's open rearguard circles. Choose any number of them, call them to rear, and put the rest into your soul. This can help to rebuild the Soul Blast effect when you use it the next following turn. And just being able to retire just by resting 2, you can rest some other rearguards that can just end up being put into the soul with this card as well. Some of those are some of the other grade 3s we're running. I am running 2 copies of Penetrate Dragon Trabosh, which is a put into soul to give one of your Vanguards critical +1 till end of battle when your Vanguard attacks if your opponent has 2 or less rearguards. So very easy to use this card. And the other grade 3 is Strike Cannon of Duststorm Andrea. If you have a Vanguard with Eugene and its card name, you can retire this unit, choose one of your opponent's rearguards, and retire it. So if you rest this unit and also Trabosh, you can then have the retire play, just retiring this card, along with it counting as one of the rested cards for Eugene, but still being able to make use of the retire. And then Trabosh can just go into the soul of Eugene to provide the extra critical and soul build up. That's it for the grade 3s. For the grade 2s, I'd say one of our best grade 2s in the deck is Howitzer of Duststorm Dustin. When this unit is placed on rear, if your Vanguard is Heavy Artillery of Duststorm Eugene, put a card from your hand into your soul, draw a card, choose one of your opponent's grade 2 or less rearguards, and retire it. Just an easy retire. Being able to also build up your soul for Eugene is always a bonus. And on rear, when this unit attacks, Soul Blast 1 and gets plus 2,000 to end of battle for each of your opponent's open rearguards. More setup and power with this card, because if your opponent has no rearguards, this is just an additional plus 10 that you can put on top of the other Persona Ride plus 10 that you can provide to Dustin thanks to your Eugene. And I also run 3 copies of Strong Fortress Dragon, Gilbrave Brachio. You can rest this card and Soul Blast 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards and retire it if your Vanguard is Eugene. And on rearguard at the beginning of your battle phase, if your opponent has 1 or less rearguards, you can stand this unit and it gets plus 5,000 to end of turn. If you Persona Ride, it's 25k, but even not so, it's still a 15k that you can swing against your opponent first before you attack with Eugene. And the other grade 2 that I run in the deck is Twin Bullets of Duststorm Travis. On rearguard, once per turn, if your opponent's rearguard was retired this turn, counter blast 1, soul charge 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards, retire it, and this unit gets plus 10,000 to end of turn. So the additional soul charge that this card provides is always a help with this deck. And the counter blast, you do counter blast a lot with this deck, but having that option just to have this card on rearguard as an additional rearguard retire can come in handy when we use cards like Oswald. Moving on now to the grade 1s. I am running 4 copies of the new beautiful Bullet of Duststorm Jody. Now, you could swap this card out for additional copies of Oswald as well. With this card as a rear guard once per turn, if you have a Vanguard with Eugene in its card name, Soul Blast 1, choose a grade 2 or less normal unit other than a Sentinel from your drop zone and put it on the top or bottom of your deck. Now, this can help to either set up Eugene or just to help you from decking out yourself, because then you can have units placed on the top of your deck thanks to Jody that you can call out thanks to Eugene, and also be able to prevent you from decking out. This is what saved me so much with this deck, because you will soul charge and call out a lot of units. So being able to at least put some back thanks to Jody, just being a rear guard once per turn, if you have the soul to use, you can just rebuild your deck, granted with not any triggers or grade 3s, but at least with units to prevent you from decking out, and they will go on the bottom of your deck. And then I also have 2 copies of Assault Bullet of Duststorm Oswald. Potentially, I would like to run 3 of this card. It's just at the end of the battle that this unit boosted a Vanguard with Eugene. Its card name, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, and they have no rear guards. Counter +1, discard a card from your hand. Choose one of your Vanguards, stand it, and increase or decrease its critical and drive to 1 until end of turn. So if you do get an additional critical, you can at least give all the effects to your Vanguard. It will lose the additional critical thanks to Oswald, but being able to restand is that pressure I was talking about, and then also being able to keep the power from the trigger you got initially as well. So you can deal the first damage with it and still have the power from Eugene and the power from the trigger as well to use with this card. If you wanted to increase the number of Oswald, you can always drop down the number of Jody, because Jody is a rear guard ability once per turn, so you can already have this card set up on your field and use it. So if anything, you can run 3 and 3, so just take out one of the Jodies for a 3rd copy of Oswald. And then the other grade 1s that I run are just the 4 Sentinels, so the 4 Twin Buckler Dragon. I just find it to be one of the more fitting Sentinels to run in the deck art-wise aesthetic. And for the orders, I am running 3 copies of Best Harvest. You choose one of your Vanguards to end of turn it gets on Vanguard. When your opponent's rear guard is retired during your main phase, you may draw a card, so you just have draw power. If you can retire your opponent's whole field with Eugene and some of your other units, that is 5 cards you could draw off of this card. The biggest thing is just remember to use this before you start retiring, because then you won't be able to get any of the draws that this card can provide. And moving on now to the grade 0s, I'm running 7 critical just for the pressure and restand power with Oswald and Eugene. I have 3 of the Conduct Spark Dragon and 4 of the Blaze Maiden zone. If you have the ability critical, it's just in my Nirvana deck at the moment for that playset. So you could just replace the zone with 4 of the Put into Soul ability critical. You don't use them as often, but still, if you have them, you can use them. And the same for the draw trigger spot. You can run the 5k shield one. I'm torn because I really do love the art of the Rushing Dragon Steel Dealfo for the deck. It just matches up with the Tachikaze cards. Same with the heal being the White Light Dragon Parasolis. If you want to run any of the ability heals, just take out 2 Parasolis for 1 of the Restander one and 1 of the additional critical one. With our over trigger being Dragveda, just another restand option for Eugene, makes this card all the scarier. I would definitely go for that restand pressure that this card can provide. The only big thing is you have to boost with Oswald, so you're taking that risk. If you do boost with Oswald, you'll miss the second chance to restand with Eugene. But if you want to go for the risk, you can always try for the over trigger and then just boost with Oswald again, and then that would be your additional restand after boosting with Oswald. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. It's a really awesome deck. Eugene just gets better and better with each set. And like I said, that restander definitely does help with the deck overall now. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Qualia out.